All right, and welcome back to Photo Tips. And today I want to talk about something that's annoying to a lot of people, and that is lens flare from the sun. You've got the sun in your shot, you get this huge glare there, and it causes, some issues there. It desaturates your image, it's going to throw off the color, it's just not going to look right, it's going to be not really very contrasty. So let me go ahead and show you this image here. This was taken in southern Idaho and near the grasslands, and we actually did a video on this particular area. You can click that card that's up there to watch that. Lots of fun stuff there. But in this particular image, obviously we have the nice horses there, got the beautiful background, but it's just washed out. And that is because if you look over to the right here, you see that big blob, and that is a sun flare. Now you could say, well, Logan, you messed that up, you got to toss that shot. But you know what? I kind of like that little bit of sun coming in there. Kind of adds a nice element there to the image. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to save this, though. So first thing I probably want to do is just some housekeeping. I think I'm going to go ahead and straighten the image. I think it's a little bit off, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my straightening tool. I can double click, and it's going to make that slight adjustment, ever so slightly adjust that line. And I think as well, I'm going to go ahead and do a crop. So I'll hit my crop tool, and we're in Adobe Camera Raw, which is the same editing engine as Adobe Lightroom. So you should have similar controls there if you're working in Lightroom. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start cutting that off just a little bit because, some of this over here isn't really doing it for me. So I'll go ahead and do that. And now we have a decent composition. Kind of rule of thirds, place the horses down there. Got the little sunburst there. So we're getting somewhere. So what can we do here to make this better? Well, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to touch up this sky because, if you were there with me, you would have seen this beautiful blue sky, which has been completely blown out because, well, a couple things. The exposure, because the camera is exposing here for the grass and the horses as opposed to the background, which, it's a decent choice for the camera to make, not a bad choice for the camera's computer. And also that sun flare has kind of washed out the colors. So let's go ahead and see if we can bring this down here. I'm going to go ahead and reset this just a little bit, although I will keep the exposure. That's, we do want to bring this down quite a bit, and believe it or not, there still is detail in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just set that up. And what I'm going to do first is address this area right here, because you can see we have a transition between the lighter area and the darker area down here. So what we want to do is have a smooth transition so it doesn't look too unnatural. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, you can see how I've got my brush set up. I've got that solid circle, that's where the filter's in full effect, and that dotted circle there is the feather, and you can see it's set right there. So that's a decent sized feather. What I'm going to do is have the feather ever so slightly brush up against that hillside there, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure the filter is not going to cut off, like right here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it over just a little bit, and I'm going to say about right there. And you got to fool around with it. So I'm going to hit there once, and then I'm going to hit my shift key, and what this will allow me to do is move over here, and I'm going to try and get exactly, thereabouts the exact same position where I had it over there. And if I hold down shift and tap, what it will do is actually make a filter that is completely straight. But I think, I think we probably did a bit too much there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back again. And see, we just fool around with it until we get exactly what we want. And I'm going to say, that's pretty good about right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in up here. So I have precisely what I want. And it looks like I didn't get quite enough over there. Let me check over here as well. There we go. Okay, so I think we're getting somewhere there. So a couple things I'm going to do. Obviously, we brought the exposure down. You can see it's not blown out. So I'm going to say, we're going to leave it about right there. And then one thing, too, you notice how green and kind of yellow this is? Well, I'm going to go up to my color temperature intent right here. And I'm going to go ahead and start sliding this to the left. As you can see, when I start to do that, the color just comes back. And that's kind of what we're looking for right there. In fact, not kind of, that's exactly what we're looking for. Then I think I'm going to go ahead and do my tint. You can see it's a little bit green right here. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this over to my magenta side, ever so slightly. A little goes a long way here in this case. And I think that is pretty good right there. I'm pretty pleased there with that. I was trying to think of a couple other things I might be able to do. I might want to go ahead, because I like this detail here that's in the mountain, but it's not quite as prominent. So I think I'm going to go ahead and bring my clarity. And what clarity does, it actually increases the sharpness of the contrast of the edges to make things stick out just a little bit more. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. And maybe a little texture, a little bit of contrast. I think I'm just trying to think if I can even make this a little bit more saturated and a little bit more blue. Let's see how greedy I can get here. All right, keep sliding her on down. There we go. You know what? I think that's still a little bit too dark. I'm going to go ahead and lighten it. There we go. Okay, so we can keep going on and on with that all day, but I want to focus my attention down here. I think I want to go ahead, and I may have to adjust now up here because I'm doing this. I'm going to go ahead and make this image a little bit more warm. And you can see when I did that, it really made it pop there. And I think I want to go ahead and add a little bit more magenta down here, like so. And maybe a little clarity, maybe a little contrast to it. We don't want to blow out too much. If we go up here to this little slider up here, I can hit that button and see if anything is blown out white or anything like that. It would appear as a red mark in my case, so I don't see anything. So I think we're okay there. All right, so we've done pretty good there. I like what we've done. But now let me go ahead and down to my horses. You can see my little horses right here, really cute, enjoying their little afternoon snack. But they're really not very well illuminated. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, and this will be very subtle. It's going to take a little minute here. I'm going to go ahead and increase the exposure ever so slightly. And make it a little warmer, and as well to bring those colors out. We'll go ahead and bring the tint up, and I'm going to say, oh, about right there. So maybe a little more clarity to make them pop out. And what we're going to do ever so slightly, we're going to even zoom in beyond 100% here, and we're just going to start painting along here. And to be honest, that may be too strong of a filter for us. But we'll go in here. Just bear with me, and we're going to go ahead and paint all these little horses, and just bear with me, and we'll go ahead and get this done. Okay, so we've gone ahead and finished painting those horses. You can see they're really sticking out right now, and if you zoom into 100%, you know, it's a little bit too much. It doesn't look natural. I was just painting there with my trackpad on my laptop. I did have to occasionally go and erase when I overshot them, but that is going to be a little bit too bright, but at least we can see the effect. So I'm going to go ahead and pull back on that exposure compensation. Let's bring it to about, 0.1, and that does make a bit of difference, because think, if I take it away, it does really make them disappear quite a bit. As you can see as well, we increase that clarity to make them pop a little bit more. In fact, I may fool around with that, there, to make them really pop. Okay, so I think we've really done something there. Let me just do a few finishing touches here to the image. I'm going to go ahead and go up to my effects tab, add a little post-crop vignette, and what that's going to do is to darken those corners ever so slightly and direct my attention there to the center. And we're just going to go ahead and adjust that a little bit like that. And I'm going to pull my midpoint back. What that's going to do is actually move this vignette out, so it's not going to be quite as strong there in the center. Okay. Just trying to think what else we can do. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust this layer up here, this adjustment brush, just a little bit more. I want to make it a little bit more blue, because you may recall we did some adjustments down here, which then affected up there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then, I'm going to go back to the entire image, and we're going to go ahead and maybe get a little more vibrance in there. I think that's going to do it for this. And then I'm going to go ahead as well, because remember what I said, the color also becomes desaturated. So I know we increased the vibrance over the entire image, but I'm going to go ahead and maybe do some individual edits. So I think I'm going to go to my HSL hue saturation luminance. I might go ahead and bring up the luminance and the oranges and the yellows, make those a bit brighter. That's what that does. I think I'm going to go over to oranges there and yellows. Make that a little bit brighter, and I think I still see a little bit of green that's bothering me. So I think I'm going to go ahead in here, try and make that green a little bit more yellow by changing hue, because I can change what it looks like there. And I think I'm going to go into saturation and take away some of that green just there from the image. Okay, so I think we've done pretty well on that. I'm going to go ahead and say, open the image. I'm going to go ahead and bring it into Adobe Photoshop, and I think I do have it open there. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and add a quick border around it. I like to do that so we can kind of see there how things are looking. Let's go ahead and look at this here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out just a little bit for your sake, because I know the screen is widescreen there for you. And we've done a nice thing here, I think. I'm actually really, really pleased with it. We've gone ahead and we've actually used an adjustment brush to darken the sky there. And also we changed the color by changing the color temperature. We brought out the detail there in the mountain. And then we fooled around here in the foreground a little bit, made a little bit more clarity, saturation. We played with the color. And then we also went in here and made the horses pop just a little bit more there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this out, and we'll look at the before and after very briefly. we go. Let's go ahead and save that, and we'll call this one after. There we go. Let's go out to our Adobe Bridge, and let's go ahead and take a look at the before. Now this is a perfectly nice image, but it's not what we remember. So let's go ahead and look at the new image. This is what I remember. I remember seeing that sunlight. I remember seeing the blue sky. This is really what I was after. So you can see it didn't take too much time there. Maybe painting there the horses in a little bit took some time, but hey, it's worth it there to get that shot. This is how you want to remember it. So I definitely do appreciate you watching Photo Tips. Please make sure you like the video, because I'm sure you do after all these great tips. Make sure you subscribe or follow depending on what platform you're on. And we'll see you again soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.